Okay, hello. Welcome to Digital Experience Team. This is our retro meeting for Thursday, February 8th. We'll go over the last 2-week period, things that went well and things to improve on. So first up for things that went well, Barker has the first point.
Yeah, I posted a thread in our pricing migration, just asking like, yo, should we put the pricing page in Contentful? Because I've heard conversation amongst the team for reasons why to and why not to. And I just wanted to call out, celebrate Javi, Megan, and Oleg for having a very thoughtful conversation documented there. And like proof points as to like, yeah, we should move it into Contentful, and providing some solutions as ways to do that, because it is such an important page. So thank you for that. Pass it to Carrie.
Yeah, I wanted to call out Miracle. She is carrying demos. It's all her. It's all her. She took over creating the demos, taking what our TMM made us and making it look beautiful. She got and gave and incorporated feedback from all the dev team, and they look amazing. So shout out to her.
Yeah, thanks for everybody who gave me feedback, Miguel, Megan, TMA. It was really helpful because this is my first time making a Nevadic demo, so I honestly don't know what I'm doing. If you haven't yet, there is still time. I have a ghetto Slack A/B test. It's linked right there. I appreciate it. And then I'll pass it to Barker.
What's this Slack A/B test? I'm gonna look into that. I wanted to shout out Megan. That new all jobs page is cool. Looks better than it did. And it's now like in BE and beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, Carrie did a great job with the design. I love it's like fresh, clean. Like it's so simple that it's just like, it makes it stand out more. I don't know. But yeah, huge improvement from what it was before. Like, thank you so much, Carrie.
There's some plus ones in there, but I'm in the middle of writing just like, I also agree. And this was a nice example of like a thing was kind of broken in dub and you tried to fix it in dub, but like the easier solution was moving it into buyer experience and then we own it, instead of trying to like, pigeonhole a thing in dub and it still being a problem over there. It shows like the value of owning these pages in our repo. I think it's deeper than just like a cool looking page. Like this shows we have ownership over it when it's over here. So let us, if you want things to work well, move them into buyer experience, I think I have the next point here. Anyway, I could find specific examples if I looked hard enough, but a thing that I feel like is going really well is, as requests and stuff are popping up in Slack and in issues and whatever, we're doing a really good job of like kind of prioritizing them appropriately. Like not everything is like the most urgent, and making sure that we're telling teams to make it into an issue. It'll get triaged, like follow this process. I feel like that's been going a little bit better. We've had some fires back in like December and everything felt like the most important thing. And now it feels like we've come up with a bit more process and people are following it a little bit better. So yeah, thanks to the team effort on that and the leads who give us that space to be able to push back on things a little bit. Yeah, I think Nathan has the next one.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think Marg has probably the hardest bug we've ever worked on our site. It's terrible. And I think we're finally seeing this like the ending soon. So I want to give a huge shout out for Marg because I don't think it's got enough recognition. But all the effort, like the amount of changes you've made on that MR, all the different rabbit holes you've gone down, just huge shout out. And I know Sandra will be ecstatic when we get this resolved. And the next one, it just popped up when Laura said the word fire. And I don't want to jinx it, but it seems like the last couple iterations have been a lot better. So let's continue to oh my gosh, I butchered that word. I can't speak English, but you know what I mean. Let's keep working on site reliability because the last 2 iterations have been really good. So I'm just gonna stop talking before I can't speak anymore. Megan, you're up next.
Yeah. For things to improve on, I see opportunities in like utilizing contentful the features that are built in better to kind of set our own best practices that like we will be modeling to everyone else in the company that uses the CMS. One thing I've noticed just like we're now that we have content in the CMS, we're now updating pages and how they look and the format of them. And so it's a little tricky to kind of make that work with the CMS sometimes. And we have to like deprecate old entries and stuff. So I see a lot of stuff in there that says like deprecated, which is awesome. Keep doing that. Love that we're adding like the deprecated flag to that. And if you're not in the habit of doing that, please do, because it's very like apparent when it's like I should not touch that one. One thing though, I see like some old deprecated entries for like that are many weeks or months old at this point. And if you're the one that's deprecating either a content type or an entry, I feel like it is also your responsibility to clean that up in the near future. Maybe not waiting a few months, but when we spoke to some folks from Contentful, I think it was like 2 weeks ago now, they recommended not deleting things but archiving them. And so yeah, like try to remember to go back in and archive your deprecated entries or content types or whatever. Maybe make a reminder in your calendar after like 24, 48 hours, just to help keep things clean. Miguel, I saw you had a really great question below.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, most of the time I just duplicate pages when I'm doing like a redesign or stuff, and nested into that page, there are different kinds of components, like ones that are linked to different pages or ones that is just linked to that page. So when deprecating and when archiving stuff, I wonder what happens with linked entries when you do that, for example, with a page. It just leaves everything as is, I guess.
It's definitely something to check and test. I know it like whether you delete or archive, it's kind of like here are things that are linked to this, but it doesn't say anything about like children. So if you archive a page, I don't think, and please don't quote me, but like I don't think that the child references get affected. But if for whatever reason the page was linked to a parent, then it would be like, hey, you're archiving this and something's trying to use this that's published. So yeah, worth checking out.
I would also add to that point, to your point, not only, yeah, trying to not only archive pages, but also components inside that page that should be also archived, because yeah, there's quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we just gotta do our part. Sometimes it's annoying to go in and do cleanup, but I feel like if we don't do it, those like maybe bad habits, will spread, and like we're gonna have a lot of deprecated stuff. Like we already have like over 10,000 entries in Contentful. We gotta help ourselves out when it comes to organization there. My next point was just about first off, like continue to keep collaboration in GitLab as much as possible, but like don't be afraid to use the Contentful comment system. I think it could be really helpful to us if you're in an entry, like I don't know, like the homepage, and you're actively working in there, like maybe throw a comment in there so anyone else going into the entry is like, oh, this is actively being worked on. Maybe I should not touch this right now, or something like that. You can tag people. I don't think you can tag entire teams, but like multiple, like individual people. I like something I worked on. I don't remember the entry, but like Miguel had a note in there that was like, hey, the code for this page takes care of like whatever this functionality, and that was so cool. It saved me some time from like probably figuring that out the hard way, or like having a headache from trying to figure that out. So yeah, it's there for us to use. Again, keep things in GitLab, but like, yeah, if you just want a quick note to like address something, put that in there. Also remember to go back in and like resolve the comment when you don't need it anymore and keep things clean. Yeah, Miguel, you have point 2.
Yeah, I know that we discussed some of this and we are changing how triaging works and issue management and stuff. But I wanted to call out some bad practices that kind of affect how our work is done and also our iterations goals. So yeah, specifically like adding scope to an issue that it's already open and it's mid iteration, it's not a great practice, and maybe we should open a new issue instead. And also reopening issues that were already like closed in past iterations and stuff. It's not a good practice, and maybe we should create a new issue. So yeah, I know that everything's changing, but yeah, I wanted to call out that this iteration.
I'd like to challenge back with why. Like, why is it not good practice to reopen an issue?
I guess because at the start of the iteration, the issue is kind of a contract that we have between managers, product management, and the developers or designers. So if we kind of like keep adding new work to existing issues, it will make that the whole scope changes, the weight changes, and if we already started the iteration, maybe it disrupts other work. So if the iteration already started, the issues shouldn't change that much because it's kind of like the agreement on which we put it, and it's also like the definition of done by which we are going to evaluate at the end of the iteration. So yeah, I think we shouldn't do that. I think that we should like stick to what the issue says, because it should be like scoped correctly, and then open new issues if something comes up.
I think this kind of comes up, we talked a little bit before this recording about like the point system and making sure that that stuff is all accurate. And if we're starting to pay attention to these kind of metrics, yeah, I think that that makes a lot of sense for, if you do a piece of work as stated in the issue and you complete it, it should probably only be reopened if that original piece of work was for whatever reason, like not done right or something, like you have to go back and redo it. But if there's any new work, it should probably be a new issue. And if we're in a new iteration, it should maybe be a new issue, because going back, like if you have a issue worth 2 points and you do it in one iteration, and the next iteration it gets reopened, it looks like the same 2 points, but it's really a new 2 points that's contributing to your time in this new sprint or iteration. I don't know. I feel like this kind of ties back to which metrics we're tracking, and making sure that we're keeping things as accurate as possible. Yeah. I'm gonna write that down because I didn't write anything in the agenda.
Just out of curiosity, how often do you find that issues have been reopened? I'm just trying to gauge like how big of an issue this is.
I see it more with like people outside of our team. Like it'll be someone else will be like, I'm gonna call out the World Tour, the DevSecOps World Tour pages, because they're like a perfect example where it was just like, okay, we built the page, and then they come back, they're like, okay, we've added new speakers, reopen the issue, and then you like doing the changes. Okay, we're closing registration. They reopen the issue, and it's just this like massive issue. 1 point on it. Oh, my headphone just died. Yeah.
But I don't want to hear anything else.
Yeah, that back and forth is like not great.
Yeah. I think hopefully that will happen less with CMS, and they're in the CMS and they're building their own pages. So yes, I agree with that example. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, Miguel, to your point, like I agree. Like I also don't think we should be reopening issues. If the scope is changing, like I don't think that's the use of it. I think you should be creating a new issue and linking it. So if there's historical context, I think that's the other thing, is like I think people are just like, we don't want to rewrite all of this information again, so I'd rather just reopen the issue. I think that's just their point of view, which is also not incorrect, but I think it's like, you got to be really careful about linking issues then to make sure all that context is there. But yeah, I agree with you. I think if we're going with like, we're having 2 issues for UX and then engineering, so that means that issue closure rates are really important to us, then in which case, then we should also be very mindful of not reopening issues as well.
And one thing, because I hate having carryover, and like it's just, I don't know, it drives me insane. So what I've been doing is, say it's like an 8-pointer or 6-pointer, it's like close it out, but then make an issue for the remaining time left, so that there's like a new issue for that iteration that is the correct allocated time. Because it's odd that, you know, an 8-pointer might carry over to the next, and you have 8 points to your next one. They're like, how much
Yeah.
was that from this iteration? Anyway,
I'm not opposed to that, and maybe nitpicky, but then isn't that not truly accurately reflecting the work that you did if you closed an 8-pointer, but it wasn't actually finished? And I don't know how to solve for that. I think that's just like,
that's
Problem.
true.
Got
You
him.
can add a comment. be
yeah,
like,
like,
Got Nathan, yeah.
yeah.
Cheat the system.
yeah,
So-
because then
I've
next
been-
time it's like the expectations, you're gonna finish 40 points, and it's like, no, that's not real. Like,
I've-
you know.
I've been like, I don't know if this is the correct thing, but well, I guess now that I think about it, I guess in the reporting it probably messes it up. But what I've been doing is, if an iteration carries over, I try to re-update the weight, but I don't know how that ends up being tracked. I think it probably sounds like a better idea to, like, if say you have an 8-pointer and you got 6 points done, it probably makes sense to update the weight to 6 points, close that, open the thing, that's 2 points for the next iteration. Does that get I don't know how the tracking works, so
I don't know, because
what
that also messes with the tracking, because it'll say that you signed up to do 20 points, and then at the end of the iteration, there's only 16 points that were available to be completed. So it also, I actually don't know what the answer is here. I don't think there's a perfect system. I don't think we should try to be aiming for perfection with any of these systems. The point is, work is getting done. We're able to roughly track how much work is getting done and how consistently we're going through it. I think we should just agree upon a system, and then just, you know, what is it? What is it, like, accuracy versus precision?
Yeah, I'm in favor for what Nathan said, because of, well, what I already do is, like, what I do now today is worse than what he suggested. So I vote to do the thing that he suggested, because that's an improvement for me personally.
I don't know. Lauren, do you have a preference? As long as we just do one way across the team.
Yes, and for complex work, such as
Mm-hmm.
code suggestions launch across the site, lots of people, lots of conversation. I like having all of that in one issue so I can track where it is. It gets hard once that becomes disparate across many issues. So
But-
it depends on the work and the project.
But in that case, wouldn't that be like an epic with several issues?
Yeah,
One issue is one merge.
yeah, I think what Lauren's saying is like there was a lot of like back and forth. So even when it was one issue, it was like, update this, just kidding, don't update it, or then do update it, but then update that instead. But then, so I think that was maybe like a unique use case that we shouldn't look to for any guidance on how to do things. But I think maybe we could take some learning from that, of just like, maybe there's like other decisions that we should do outside of GitLab, like just have conversations or have Slack things, and then like make a decision. And then once that decision has been made, then move it over to GitLab. But yeah, maybe this is something we just all keep an eye out for the next iteration, and then we report back in retro to see what options we have. Sorry, that one is a very unresolved conversation, I know, but
Yeah.
It's
Let's
just
circle
kind of
back.
a lot of things. So we could do several action items.
which are,
So I should assign all of my issues to Miguel, and every time he closes them, I'm just gonna reopen them. Just one big issue for the whole sprint, and you just keep reopening it with new work.
I do want to leave room for adaptability.
Yeah.
Oh, we think a piece of work is going to be like that, and then you dive into it and it's more or less. And I don't want this process to inhibit us from
Mm-hmm.
the goal of like getting the work done,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't always know the right scope.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe an iteration of this is just like if it comes up in the wild, if we start seeing it, you know, knowing that we have the ability or the authority to go ahead and make a new issue for it. Like if another team reopens my thing, maybe I'm just making another issue and being like, hey guys, I'm just moving this over here because it's a new sprint or whatever, you know, like maybe we just have
Yeah.
that freedom.
Yeah. You absolutely do. And yeah, it might be just be like a training learning thing for other teams that work with us because they might work differently in their world where they do reopen issues. So yeah.
And yeah, we are also going to change the triage and stuff, so we
Mhm.
can room to see what happens.
Mhm.
I think something that helps me, I think, in this, it's like if I ship an iteration of something that's not fully closed, what I can do is like update the weight, close the issue, open a new thing for a new iteration of something. Because I think there's been issues where it's like I have multiple MRs to close an issue, but like, you know, like if I ship an iteration of something, maybe that just means open a new issue for something, or like a new iteration of something.
But that circles back to opening new issues, right? So could be issue MVC1, issue MVC2, so that it's segmented enough. Because otherwise we could just put enough, just a lot of work into an issue and it's never going to be closed because it's that we don't have a definition of done, right?
Tina has a good question in the chat because like this is pretty engineering focused. Like I guess it's an issue that we've seen in engineering work, but yeah, if Tina, do you want to vocalize that?
Sure. I like put it in the chat because I'm like, ooh, we don't wait our issues. Are we in trouble? So UX, at least me, and I've noticed others, we rarely weight our issues because they're notoriously hard to point because as you discover what the project is, it either gets bigger or it's like, this will be done in 2 days. And also it's rare that we can close an issue in an iteration. Because we're doing research, we're doing design. Should all those be separate issues? That starts to get a little hard to track conversations. It's nice to have all that UX work done in one issue. That includes creating the Figma, that includes the research that we've done. It's not efficient for that to be all over the place in several issues. I don't have a solution because I didn't know it was a problem until now.
I mean, yeah, in an ideal world, each issue that's opened is closed in that iteration. But like that's just not the reality of the situation. And I think that's okay. Like good, not perfect. It is what it is. Like work is getting done. We're delivering business value. I'd rather focus on that than swirl about what the perfect way to do points and iterations are, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it sounds like that system is working for UX, right? So
Yeah.
don't, if it ain't
But
broke.
yeah, I'm not bothered by it, Tina. I don't know if the other designers are bothered by it. Like,
oh, I was just wondering who's looking at what. So, we talked about before about value stream and burn down. So if wait and closing issues in a timely iteration, in an iteration cadence is important, we need to be aware of that. But if no one cares, there's no
I think
problem.
we're okay on the UX front, Tina.
Okay, I might stop the recording there. I've got a date with some mashed potatoes, and so does John. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.